I've worked with a lot of different yarns over the years, from box store brands to indie dyers. I've worked with some amazing yarns and I've worked with some not so good ones as well. So today I'm tier ranking every single yarn I've ever used. Yarn is probably the biggest investment you make as a fiber artist, so today I'm going to give you my completely honest opinions of how all of these different yarns have held up over time. I'm using this tier ranking system. The highest is S, or God tier, which is like I would bequeath this yarn to my firstborn child, and the lowest is D tier, which is like I would not wish this yarn upon my worst enemy. I'll be looking at three major things as I review each yarn. The first will be the cost, the second will be my experience working with the yarn, and the third will be how it's held up over time. Let's get into it with one of the first box store brands I've ever used, Lion Brand Woolies. Lion Brand Woolies is a popular craft store brand that you can find in Michael's. Formerly, you could find it in Joann's or Rip, and it is an 80% acrylic, 20% wool blend. It comes in a worsted weight and also a thick and quick version, which is a bulky weight yarn. The worsted weight retails for about $6 a skein, and the bulky is about $10 a skein. I actually knit my first sweater ever in the bulky weight. So this hat is about 5 years old, and honestly, it has held up pretty well over time. I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've worked with this yarn. As I'm feeling it now, I'm not getting the squeakiest acrylic-y feeling, which I think would be the biggest like deterrence of working with it. But I worked with this a lot when I first started knitting, and I think it serves a really great purpose for those who are trying to get into knitting, or maybe it's just another budget option if you don't mind the acrylic content in your yarn. Personally, acrylic is not my favorite for wearables. I don't even really like it for accessories because I feel like it doesn't keep you as warm as wool does, but it comes in a lot of fun colors and it's a really great way to experiment with yarn. Transparently, I wouldn't be reaching to work with this yarn for any kind of wearables, but I have used it for things like home goods or crafts. I think it serves a really good purpose there. So for that reason, I'd put Lion Brand Woolies in the B tier. Next on my pile, I have two sweaters made with Knitting for Olive Merino. Now this is probably the first like imported fancy yarn that I knit with. It's one of the first ones. I have to say it has a really special place in my heart for that reason. Knitting for Olive is really known for their merino and their soft silk mohair, which I actually haven't worked with. You won't see that in this video, but I am a big fan of their merino yarn. The regular merino comes in a light fingering rate and right now is retailing on the Knitting for Olive website for $7.60 US. I am not factoring tariffs into this video just because I don't know right now, and that information is always changing. So my favorite way to use the Knitting for Olive Merino is to hold it double in a DK weight. I've used it for both the Anchor Sweater by Petite Knit and the Mauricia Cardigan by Primerose Knitting. I made this one in 2021 and this one I think in 2022, and they still look brand spanking new. Take a look at that sleeve. I am unsure how there is like not really any pilling on this yarn. I feel like it is springy, it is soft, it's so comfortable, it's breathable. I feel like these are the perfect spring layering pieces. I know a lot of people like to pair it with the mohair to make a like heavier fabric, or at least a warmer one. It's a lighter fabric, but it's warmer. I'm not a mohair girl. You'll see a little bit of mohair in here, but it's really not my favorite. Overall, this yarn has held up so well. It also comes in like 1,000 different colors and they're all beautiful. These colors are both named after artichokes, interestingly enough. This is artichoke purple and this is dusty artichoke. And I love both of them so much. Honestly, could probably knit all of my wardrobe in Knitting for Olive for the rest of my life and be happy. And for that reason, Knitting for Olive Merino goes into the S tier for me. Staying in that part of the world, let's look at another Scandinavian yarn brand. The next is Sandnesgarn Pure Gynt. This is a DK weight Norwegian wool. Right now, it's retailing at Wool & Co., an American store, for $8 a skein. It comes in 50 gram skeins and also a lot of different colorways. Both of these colors, I was just looking on their website, I don't think are available anymore. It is just a really nice DK wool. Finished two items in this yarn, the Weekend Hat by Petite Knit and the Amy Sweater by Petite Knit. I just finished this. I don't want to take as a close look at this because I haven't worn it that much, but I've had the Weekend Hat for over a year and it's been a very consistent part of my wardrobe. Other than a snag that was probably my fault, I think this yarn's held up beautifully. I really don't see any pilling on this and I really enjoy the wool. The Norwegian wool isn't super soft as compared to something like a merino, but I feel like this really straddles the line of something super rustic and itchy and something like super, super soft. I really prefer working with 100% wool, and I don't mind a little scratchiness, and I love the structure that a harder or like more rustic wool gives you. So I don't think this is the most soft thing you'll work with, but I really enjoy it, and I love the finished look that you get on a garment. Here's a look at my Amy sweater as well. If you were following along in this make, you will know that I had a lot of dye lot issues, and I'm still not fully certain if it was due to like the dye lots being different, or like if within the dye lot itself there were inconsistencies. But I think for that reason, I still really like this yarn. I love the products that I've made with it. I still put this in the A tier for me. Up next is another one of my favorite 100% wools, and this is Cascade 220. Cascade 220 is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it's a worsted weight. This is a yarn that I've also made 2 sweaters in. What's interesting about this one is that I feel like the yarn has held up differently in each sweater, so let's get into that. I first made the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit in 2022, and then in 2024 I finished this sweater. This is the Lume by Sari Nordlund. Today I was picking out the yarn for this sweater. I was still pretty new to knitting, and someone in the store was like, "Oh, I love Cascade. That's such a good workhorse yarn." And a good workhorse yarn it is. It retails for about $8 a skein, which I find to be very affordable. You can knit a small or medium sized sweater for like $60 to $70, which I think is a great price for the quality that you're getting. This is my Ingrid sweater, and I wear this so much. I wear it inside the house, I wear it outside the house. It is basically like my baby blanket, but a sweater. It's become such a comfort piece for me. The wool has held up really nicely over time, but it's also softened and relaxed in this piece. It's not itchy at all. I don't find any irritation when I have this close to my skin. And it does pill a little bit. I recently shaved this one, I think in the fall. You can't really see it. Trust me when I say there's definitely been some wear and tear on this that I've kept up with over the years. Most untreated wools are going to pill eventually. It's just kind of a matter of when and how often. Interestingly enough, in my Lume pullover, I've realized that it's pilled more, and I'm not sure if that has to do with the different textures. So obviously the Ingrid sweater has a bunch of different textures. You have moss stitch, 2x2, faux cabling, you have eyelets, and I think the body itself has remained mostly unpilled. I usually see the pilling in kind of like the high traffic, high friction areas, but on the Lume, you may be able to see some pilling just on the body of the sweater. So I do think that this yarn doesn't hold up as nicely just in stockinette. I still love working with it. It's like a lovely experience to work with it. Just still love like how this sweater turned out. I think this ages more quickly in a stockinette than versus a texture. I think for that reason, I'm gonna put Cascade 220 in the A tier. I think it's one of the best values you can get for your buck, and it comes in a lot of great different colors. I definitely would reach for this one again. Next, we have a bougier yarn in my collection, and that is the appropriately named Swanky DK from Magpie Fibers. Swanky DK is a merino cashmere nylon blend. I think it's 80-10-10 in that order percentage-wise. It retails for about $36 a skein, and definitely one of the more expensive yarns that I've worked with, but it's also really lovely. So I was first introduced to this yarn because I had a gift card to the Magpie Fibers yarn store. My fiance is from Frederick, Maryland, which is where their flagship store is based, and my future mother-in-law got me a gift card there, and I actually purchased this yarn with that gift card, and I think this is a great way to describe the yarn. Like, it's a lovely yarn I love to buy with money that's not my own. Does that make sense? I've knit accessories with this yarn. This is my Sophie shawl in the colorway Bougie Beaver, and I think it's held up very nicely over time. I also recently knit a gift for my aunt who's super knit worthy in this yarn, and this is a dream to work with. It's so soft. It's a super wash yarn and cashmere with a little bit of nylon for durability, and it just has like a lovely drape. I can't tell you how much I wear this scarf, and I think for that reason alone, like, I have to rate this pretty highly. It's soft, it's a great layering piece for transitional seasons. It just like goes with every outfit that I have. I wore it when I got engaged. I really do like this yarn. The price point is just something that would keep me from recommending it widely to everyone as like, this is a need. No, it's really just kind of like a nice to have, I'd say. I also like to stay away from using superwash for my garments. I just like don't love how it drapes usually. I don't know. I just like the structure of a untreated wool better, and that's really personal. So for that reason, I put this lovely luxury yarn in the B tier. I'm talking so fast, I need some water. Piper, you know I only use Swanky DK, the yarn company that has good values. Piper, no. Anyway, the next two yarns I'm going to rank together, and that's because I've only knit with them together. This Hobbies Mayflower Easy Care Merino and Kid Silk. What a mouthful. It's a twofer in more ways than one because I've actually knit two sweaters with this yarn. I knit the Whitmore cardigan, frogged it entirely, and then I knit the Lento sweater with these yarns. So a little research is showing me that Mayflower is a Danish yarn brand that's sold through Hobby, which is a larger online retailer. So the Kid Silk retails for about $9 per 25-gram skein, and the Easy Care Merino retails for about $5 per 50-gram skein, which is like a pretty good deal. I'm trying not to let my anti-mohair bias inform how I rate this yarn. I think generally it's held up pretty well and quite beautifully. It overall has a really nice drape, and I don't hate working with mohair. That's not true. I really don't love working with mohair, and I think the way that some people do, I find it kind of annoying and finicky, and it's not my favorite finished fabric. I feel kind of suffocated when I wear mohair. Even when it's cold out, like I still feel like it doesn't breathe in the same way that my 100% wool garments do. That being said, I think it's a pretty good mohair for the price point. It's not completely unitchy. I do like to wear this with an undershirt underneath it, but I think it's a pretty good value for what you get. And honestly, for a yarn that's been knit, frogged, washed, re-knit, washed again, it's held up pretty well, and I get a pretty decent amount of wear out of my Lento sweater. This honestly might be an A tier combo for some people if you really like merino and mohair. For me, it's not my favorite combo, so I'm gonna put the Mayflower Kid Silk and Merino solidly in the B tier. I haven't gotten any C or G tier yarns yet, but trust me, they may be on the way. Actually, I don't know. Maybe there's no D tier yarns. Maybe I just have good taste. The next yarn came highly recommended to me, and that's Kelbourne Woolens Scout. Scout retails for $18 per 100-gram skein, which puts it in a good midpoint, I think, in between maybe like a Cascade yarn and something maybe more indie or luxe. A lot of the yarns are heathered, and I'm reading on the website that's a mix of Corriedale and Merino wools. For that reason, Scout is very soft to the touch. I knit my folklore cardigan in it, and this is one of my favorite knits. However, I have to say, out of all my 100% wool sweaters, this one definitely pills the most, and it's a little bit disappointing to me, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's because it's a white yarn and the fuzzies are more apparent, but I feel like I am always picking fuzz off of this yarn, and I'm always like giving it a good shave in the winter when I'm getting wear out of it. The more that something pills, the less I want to wear it because I know it's gonna pill and I don't like how it looks, and it kind of is a never-ending cycle. I think this is a decently priced yarn. I'd be interested if you all have any thoughts of how this has held up for you over time. I think that really shows just kind of the level of pilling that I get on this sweater. It just like doesn't hold up the way that I wanted to, and I spent so much time knitting this sweater. It's a cabled paneled cardigan. Like, whew, it's a little bit of a heartbreaker. I love the knitting experience. I think the price is right, but seeing how this has held up over time, I'd have to put this in between the B or the C tier. And that makes me feel bad. I don't know, I really wanted to love this yarn, but I'd love to hear if you've had a different experience with it. This next yarn, you couldn't go anywhere on the internet in 2020 or 2021 without seeing it. She was truly the it girl for a while, and is still one of my favorite yarns to look at, and is one of the more unique, prettier yarns that I've made a sweater out of. And that is Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo. Try saying that 5 times fast. There's kind of a lot of conflicting information about the gauge of this yarn. I can tell you that I knit this on 4mm needles for the Very V-neck raglan by Jessie Made Designs. Reading the list off my computer, it is 45% silk, 45% mohair, 10% wool. And this is a yarn that like I can't even comprehend that has mohair in it. I made this so early on in my knitting life cycle journey, whatever you want to call it, that I don't think I was really even conscious of what was in the fabric. I was just like, ooh, pretty, I need that. This yarn is a very lightly spun yarn, meaning it's not plied or twisted on itself very tightly, and it's also a thick and thin yarn, so you'll see it variegates in size as you knit it. How that manifests in your knitting is that you can see some stitches, like here you can tell this was like a thicker part, appear bigger than others. Definitely the most appealing thing about this yarn is the color changing. I absolutely love the colors of this yarn. They're just like this dreamy pastel palette. And I think this colorway has become so popular in particular because it has so many colors, but they work so well together that it almost acts as a neutral in your wardrobe. You will also see a lot of people knit this with the mohair held together with it. And I do think that that can help make this yarn a little bit more durable because as it stands, just due to the nature of the yarn and I think the content, it doesn't age that beautifully, to be honest with you. You might be able to see some pilling here on the edges. I have shaved the sweater multiple times and it feels manageable, and I'm not surprised at the amount of pilling for the kind of yarn that you're using with it. I don't think I mentioned, but this retails for about $15 per 100-gram skein, and that's like nothing to snuff at. I think that's why I originally made this sweater so cropped, because I only had 3 skeins because I didn't want to spend that much money on it. Joke's on me, I ended up buying an extra skein another year later, but that doesn't matter. Overall, I really love this yarn for a novelty. It has a special place in my heart, but I don't think this is something I will keep reaching for in my making, just due to how it's held up and the price and kind of the uniqueness and novelty of this yarn. So for those reasons, I think I'd put this in the C tier as a yarn that's good for like a very specific purpose, but doesn't really like hold up when I think compared to all these other ones. But don't get it twisted, like I love the sweater and I love this yarn. So next is the only unspun yarn that I've ever worked with, and that is Machelopis by Wool Dreamers. I held Machelopis double with a bunch of different scraps from my stash to make this Lonely Leftovers vest this spring. I'm going to talk about this one shortly only because I've recently knit with it and I can't really speak to how it will hold up over time. To me, working with unspun yarn is more of a novelty thing. It's not something I think I would reach for again and again. It's finicky when you work with it. It kind of slows down your process, which can be a good thing to kind of like bring you in a little more meditative way of knitting, but like it breaks all the time. It's just like a completely different experience than a lot of the other yarns I've showed you today. I had fun experimenting with this yarn and I really like the finished structure of this piece. I like how it feels stiff, but it's also very light because of the unspun nature, and it'll keep me very warm. I don't see myself reaching to use this yarn again, and so I think for that reason I would put an unspun yarn like this in the C tier for me. It's like fun and it's good, but it's not something I reasonably would keep reaching for over and over again. The next yarn that I have is definitely one of the bougier yarns on my list, and that is Roan DK by Primrose Yarn Co. I bought this yarn as a treat when I went to Rhinebeck in 2022, and I've made one of my favorite sweaters with it, and that is the Harlow V-neck by Kadri. I knit this in their colorway Fossil. Roan DK is truly unlike any yarn I've ever worked with. It is a 60% superwash merino and a 40% domestic non-superwash merino. I've never worked with a yarn that has combined both treated and untreated wool before, and the idea behind it is that it creates a yarn that has the best properties of both. It has memory and it's springy like an untreated wool, but it doesn't pill as often and it has a lot more durability like a superwash wool. And boy, is this sweater durable. This yarn comes in at a whopping $32 a skein, which is like pretty standard for a hand-dyed yarn. As you can see, I don't use a lot of yarns in this price point to make sweaters. It's just kind of what has worked for me, but this was definitely a treat for myself that I have reaped the benefits of over the years. So the Primrose Yarn Co. websites calls this a non-pilling wool with the proper care. I don't think any yarn is fully non-pilling. Like there are little pills on this, but compared to any other sweater that I have, it pills way less. And I definitely wear this sweater. It's up there in wears, like my Ingrid sweater. I wear it a ton. If you ever watch a vlog, I feel like I'm always wearing this sweater. It's one of my favorites. It's very versatile. The fabric is unlike any sweater that I have. Like I said, it's stretchy, but it's soft, it's not itchy, but it's also not like fuzzy like a yarn. And I think that's where the superwash comes in. Here's a closer look at the yarn. Like this looks like I just knit it yesterday and I knit this 2 years ago. One thing I also love about this yarn is that because there are two different types of wool, I think one of the wools is brown and one of the wools is white, so it lends to this really natural variegation of the tonal color, which I really like because I'm not really much of like a full variegated yarn girl, but I do like a little bit of like differentiation in a tonal color like this. I think one day I would love to knit another sweater in this yarn, knowing that I would use it for a lifetime, and for that reason this yarn goes into the S tier. That concludes the wool yarns. I do have some plant-based yarns to talk about, and I also have some cotton merino blends, but these are all kind of more like summer, spring, warm weather yarns to me that are a bit different than the ones I just did. The first one that I have is a hand-dyed yarn. This is Cheasapke DK from Terrapin Fiberworks. I made this swelt drafted tank top in this DK weight yarn. This yarn retails for about $26 per 100 gram skein. She's actually out of this base, I think until July I saw she posted about. So it is a very well loved cotton. And it's an organic cotton from Peru. And I wear this tank a lot and it's held up very well over time. I also really love all the colors that she makes. This one's called Fennel from her Farmer's Market collection. I haven't purchased from her recently, but I might have to do another re-up for the spring and summer. There's definitely some wear and tear here on the armpits. That's very, I think, unique and particular to summer wear. It's just gonna get a little icky and sticky in your armpit region in the summer, and like no matter how nice your yarn is, this region is gonna suffer greatly. Overall, I really like knitting with this yarn. It's a lovely experience, it has good drape, and it's a quick knit as well, so I would put this in the A tier. Next, we're going back to Knitting for Olive for their cotton merino. This is a 70% merino, 30% cotton fingering weight yarn. I've knit both a fingering weight top in it, and I've held it double for a DK weight top. This is the Jessie Mae Design Summer Secret crop top. I always get the name wrong, always will. And this is the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. I love both of these tank tops. I think I like knitting summer things with negative ease, and I wear this one a lot. This one's a better testament because I just finished that other one in October. I think it's held up pretty well. Obviously there's like deodorant stains, but like that's on me. But this yarn has held up pretty well. I find when you rewash it, it regains some of its memory, and I love all the colors that cotton merino comes in. Some people don't like the texture of this yarn. I do. I like working with it, and it's one of my favorite summer yarns. I don't know if I'd put this in the S tier. I think I'd put it in the A tier. I would work with this again. I've worked with it multiple times. I think it's a pretty decent price point. I think it comes in also similarly around $8 per 50 gram skein from Knitting for Olive. Next, I have a yarn that I'm wearing, another Sanascarn yarn. It's Sanascarn Line, and it comes in 3 different weights. This I've knit in the sport weight. This is the Inger Top by Gregoria Fibers. I have dyed this yarn though, so this is not a colorway that you can buy. And I've also knit a dress in the Teak Line, which is a bulky weight yarn. This is a cotton linen viscose blend, and I really like this yarn. It's really lovely to work with. The bulky one, this is kind of more of a novelty. It's not like that practical, I think, for the summer, but it's really kind of held up nicely. Both this one and the tank top have held up nicely over time. I think they have a really nice drape, and I love a cotton linen yarn for the summer. I would definitely recommend this yarn. I don't really have anything bad to say about it, so I put it in the A tier. The next yarn I've used in a project held with something else. I'm not going to rate the creative tweed because it's very like a thing unto itself, I think. But the carrier yarn, if you will, for this project was Cot Lin by Knit Picks. And this is a 50-50 cotton linen blend. I think this retails for about $5 a skein on the Knit Picks website, and it does come in a lot of different colors. I generally liked working with this yarn. The only thing that I will note is that the linen, or something that's in it, gets everywhere when you're working with it. I would work with it again. I think it's at a decent price point, and I don't know if I've really worn this enough to tell you how decently it wears over time. I'm just gonna be honest. So I would put this in the B tier. I think I'd definitely try it again, but I honestly just don't have enough information, I think, to give you about it. Finally, I have Mad Tosh Cotton Merino. This is a 50-50 cotton merino blend. This is in the colorway Chilly Nights. It's another one of those Jessie made secret crop tops with it. Also think this yarn has held up really well over time. This was also made in 2022. Again, when you block it, it kind of regains its memory, which is helpful. Got this yarn as a gift. I didn't seek it out myself. My mom bought it for me when she was on a trip, and I really like it. I think I would buy this again. It is a DK weight yarn as opposed to a fingering weight. I kind of like having the versatility of having like a fingering weight that I could hold double or not. But overall, I really think this has held up well over time. I think the color is pretty. It is more expensive. Let me just double check. This one is definitely the most expensive out of the bunch. It comes at $32 a skein, so good for a little project like this. I think my mom bought me 2 skeins and it worked well for that. But I think for what's out there, like, you don't need to spend that much money on a cotton merino. So I would put this in a B tier. So we really kind of sped around the end there. I just wanted to make sure I got everything in to share with you all. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on your least favorite and favorite yarns in the comments, so sound off below, and I hope to see y'all soon. Bye!